Decaten recently posted a video called My Personal Experience with Placebo on Osu as a Top Player. As of me recording this, he posted this about a day ago and it's already gotten over 8.2k views. For those of you who don't know, Decaten is a top player who plays with a mouse. He's known for his performances in playing tournaments, including the Osu World Cup in 2022, where he won the OWC champion title. He's also known for his insane aim control plays and being able to FC Tomei Elegy for the first time with a laser pointing right next to his eye. So I'm going to link the video in the description down below for those who want to watch the full thing. I actually recorded myself like watching through the whole thing and giving my thoughts here and there for what totaled for maybe 1.5 hours. But since he actually posted a follow-up video, which I haven't seen yet, I decided I would condense my thoughts down into something more concise. That way I can actually move on to his follow-up video and give my thoughts on that. Essentially, the video covers his experiences with playing Osu on an old setup and switching to a new setup, where he went from Windows 10 to Windows 11 and things never quite felt the same again. And in fact, it felt very uncomfortable. And he kept changing his settings around, toggling raw input on and off, mapping absolute area to the main window, full screen optimizations, and etc, etc. And he found that toggling each setting changed how his mouse felt in certain ways, which was really interesting to see. He was able to narrow down the difference between having raw input on and off, what exactly changed when he played Osu with optimal versus unlimited frame rate. He essentially just shared his experience in trying to figure out what exactly changed. Why can't I feel like I have control over my own mouse anymore? It just doesn't feel consistent. I don't have any sense of consistency. And he kind of went through his process of investigating, okay, so this changes this and that, and I've tried sticking with this for a couple weeks at a time, but it just feels so uncomfortable. And I've just been sticking with this sense, I've just been dealing with it, but it's killing my drive for the game, my passion. I was able to tell from watching his video how passionate he is for the game. You gotta understand, if you're not passionate about the game, I don't think you go that deep into toggling specific settings on and off and figuring out the exact difference in how that feels and is that placebo or not. Because here's the thing, he uses the word placebo a lot in this video, and from what I can tell, when he toggles some of these settings on or off, he finds that he consistently under-aims things. With other settings, he finds that his accuracy is consistently worse and that he's tapping too late. Now that to me, when there's a consistent instance of him tapping too late with a certain setting on, that means that he's experiencing more latency. And so because of the additional latency, he's having to react earlier than he normally would, because he just has to compensate for that. But moving into his experience with Windows 11, in my original recording, watching through the whole thing, I didn't realize he was on Windows 11 until halfway through, and it's pretty I'm not gonna say that Windows 11 sucks, because it's getting better. It's definitely getting better. But especially at the beginning, Windows 11, gaming on Windows 11 was a mess. Especially compared to Windows 10. You were just better off staying on Windows 10. Now it's actually much better. However, I don't know what hardware Decaten is running on his computer, but if he has an AMD CPU, chances are he's dealing with some wackiness going on with Windows 11. So I'll show some graphics from another channel on screen while I say this, but essentially you can have the same computer and just have two separate installations of Windows 11 on the same computer, same build, same version, same everything, and one of the two installations will actually underperform in specific games. There is no difference in drivers, no difference in the actual OS and the build and the version and how it's installed. Both are fresh, clean installations on the same computer, and one of them will be essentially broken for gaming. Your frame rate and your 1% lows will be cut down, which will directly affect how responsive the game feels and how consistent the game feels to play. Now, the interesting thing here is I'm not sure if this actually has anything to do with what Decaten covers in his video, because essentially what he's talking about is how his mouse aim doesn't feel consistent. It's interesting because I've seen people say a lot of things about Windows 11. A lot of people have no issues with Windows 11, but there's also a group of people that have a ton of consistency issues with their experience on Windows 11. One of those things being floaty mouse feeling. Their aim in FPS shooters feels floaty, like it's just not consistent. The concept of two identical installations of Windows being inconsistent with each other like this isn't actually new. On Windows 10, there are different feature updates. There's 1709, 1809, 1909, 21H2, 22H2. In specific games, typically older games, single-threaded games, there would be a difference in performance and latency between 1709 and 1809. Essentially, 1709 was like one of the better experiences, but then 1809 actually fixed some things. So then the trade-off was, okay, maybe 1809 is a sweet spot. Then 1909 happened, and it kind of came in with some changes, and those changes unfortunately meant that you took a slight performance hit and a latency hit in some games. These differences aren't as noticeable on higher end newer hardware, but if you're running things on like a computer from like 2014 or like an older laptop even, these updates do have much more noticeable differences. In fact, some of the things Decaten talks about in his video are things that I covered in my OSU optimization series. Mainly the first 3 videos where I go into tweaks and optimizations to help OSU run better with lower latency on your computer. That video is a bit outdated since it was on like a much older version of Windows 10. You can tell that he's been struggling. He's not even sure if he wants to play in the OSU World Cup this year because his mentality, like his mental with the game is like in the gutter. Like if it were me, I would have been investigating in a similar way and trying to get to the bottom of things, but eventually I would reach a state where I'm just kind of getting burnt out and I'm just frustrated and I can't enjoy playing the game anymore because I can't get immersed, I can't feel in control. And I remember, like at a specific point in the video, he mentions that he feels that he doesn't have control over his mouse. He doesn't even have control, like it feels like he doesn't have control over his fingers, which is interesting. It feels like it's gotten to a point to where like he needs the game to let him have control. Like I don't think he said it exactly like that, but essentially it's like the game's not letting him have control over his aim. He's able to read it properly. He's able to tap it accurately. He's able to follow it, but like when he aims with his mouse, like it feels like he's aiming it right, but then he's just missing notes. And you could say, oh, he's on mouse, because he's playing on mouse, he doesn't have absolute positioning. He's dealing with mouse drift. Of course, with that mouse drift, it's gonna shift his aim over and over, and it's gonna make it feel inconsistent. But no, that doesn't seem to be the case because he'll be consistent on his first run playing a map, and then on consecutive runs he will hold combo and then he'll just randomly over aim or under aim, all while feeling like he's not doing that. It's hard to say what exactly is going on because a lot of these things sound like they're based on feelings. They're like, it feels like I'm like things are inconsistent. It feels like this is the way it is and it didn't used to be like this. But the only way to truly get an answer with what's going on is to measure data, is to collect data and plot it. Like with how people benchmark certain games on different builds of Windows with different settings and such. The same would need to be done with OSU. And it's not until someone does that between Windows 10, Windows 11, and I mean, shit, like on different builds of Windows 10 and different builds of Windows 11, it's like we're just not going to know. We're just not going to know exactly what's going on, or at least we're not going to get close to it. It needs to be done in a scientific way to rule out any feelings and opinions and just have hard facts. But at the end of it all, I really do relate to Decaten. I really do feel for him. I feel his frustration. I can feel how passionate he is. Like he really wants to just like not deal with this anymore, and he wants to be able to just enjoy the game again. And I really do hope he finds his answer. To which I will actually watch the second video right now because I haven't seen it yet. It's 15 minutes long, so I'm just gonna watch it and I'll give my thoughts on it.
Hello.
Hello.
This is basically like my second video on this, my personal experience with placebo, and I just want to talk about. Thank you so much for everyone that replied. Thank you so much for everyone that interacted. It means a lot. I read most, if not all, of the comments, and while there were a few people that graduated from Decaten University, everyone else meant very, very good intentions, and I appreciate it so much. And it helped me build. I decided to try and take a step back from the game for just a moment, and I came back tonight, basically like a few hours ago, and honestly this just talking about this just helped. It helped clear my mind a lot. And so now I'll dive into the details a little bit more, but basically I don't know when it was, but I basically lost sight of what I wanted to do at some point, or I feel like I lost the fun in the game because for me, my main issue was I was trying to look for these results. I was focused more on what I could do and like what I could set rather than playing the game to just get better or just playing the game to play the game. And I talked with this one person in DMs named Tangy, and they provided insight as to what I was experiencing, and they basically said that it was this thing called settings OCD, where you would just hyperfixate on thinking that changing your settings will always impact your gameplay, or that it will give you like a short-term boost in your skill to be able to set something and then go back down, and as well as thinking that you could keep playing consistently at your peak, basically. And I didn't realize it at first, but I've fallen into that trap. I wanted to be like the Emmerich of Mouse, like everyone has those dreams, and and I just wanted to compete at a level that no one could reach me, basically, which is something that I'm sure that everyone aspires to be at some point. But I feel like I've been very humbled. There's a lot of people giving advice, and honestly, I really appreciate it. It doesn't matter if you're 6-digit or not. It doesn't matter if you stop playing the game or not. But just giving a second perspective on what it seems like impossible to escape from. It wasn't just me that was experiencing it, is the main thing. And I think that's the most important thing about coming out with this video, is the fact that it's the fact that I thought I was alone in this battle. I thought
he did say that.
I thought I was the only one that experienced this placebo, and when I looked at all the comments, it was crazy. So many people have this issue, but I bet none of them, I really do think that either none of them talked about it, or a lot of them felt too scared to voice it because they felt like maybe they were the only one too. And so
the thing is that when you talk about things like this in the way that he did in his first video, it's very easy to have it come off as, oh, you're paranoid, or oh, like you're just trying to extrapolate something that isn't actually the case. I actually just remembered with him using the word placebo in this video. The definition of placebo is essentially you're tricked into thinking something is the case when it actually isn't. So the sugar pill example, where you're given the sugar pill but you're made to believe that it will cure like a skin rash or something. And okay, maybe not a skin rash, maybe like a stomach ache. It'll cure your stomach ache. And essentially when you take that pill, you don't know it's a sugar pill. You're only told that it will cure your stomach ache, and when you take it, after a little bit, your stomach ache goes away, and it's like, but all you actually took was a sugar pill. It only had sugar in there. If anything, you just gave yourself sugar. So, that's essentially what placebo is. In the other video, placebo was used in the sense of, I don't know what changed, but something is different and it feels inconsistent. It doesn't feel the same. The difficult thing about that is essentially, like I said earlier, is how there's no hard data to back up what you're saying, essentially. And because you don't have this data, it's all speculation. And when it's speculation, like, it comes off as like something like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, where it's like, there was a wolf or some shit, I don't remember the story, but like, there's a wolf and no one believes it, and then the wolf eats everyone in the town or whatever. And it's just like, damn, should have gotten some evidence or something to back it up. But in this case, you can tell by watching his video, by watching that first video, and even in this video so far, like how much of a mental strain it was taking on him. You can even tell in the difference between the first video and this video how much more like you can kind of feel like he's a bit more relieved, maybe. Like he feels like a bit more leveled. He's acknowledged that a big component of this is his mental with the game, his mind space, his perception of things. Because a huge part of the puzzle here is being able to discern how much lies in how things are set up, and then how much you can adapt to. And that comes to a point to where like you can tweak as much as you can here and there, but eventually you're just going to have to settle down and just play the game, just kind of just adjust. And if what you have right now is different from what you had back then, and you swear by it, and you know for a fact that it is different now, but you don't have a direct way to make what you have right now closer to what it was back then, the best thing you can do is to just adjust to the new normal. Of course, it doesn't mean like I don't mean like to give up. Like, I'm not encouraging the idea of like giving up the whole idea of finding the most optimal way to play Osu. There's things like posture. Like, if you have a fucked up posture, like, sure, some people can set like insane scores with weird postures, but the whole thing with posture is like, if you're playing in a weird way, like you're playing in a weird contorted way, it's gonna be much harder to play the game than if you were just playing with your arms extended normally on your desk, wrist resting on something, elbows resting on something, and just like properly distributing the strain into your forearm and stuff, and just playing the game. Like, there's gonna be a huge difference there. So like, I do encourage the idea of trying to find the most optimal way to play the game, whether that's in settings, tweaking your installation of Windows, optimizing it, adjusting your setup for optimal posture, both in the interest of avoiding long-term strain, which could lead to injury, but also so that you can stay relaxed enough while playing so that you're not holding yourself back.
And so coming out with this video, for for me, it helped me reach this sense of clarity in my mind, and it also helped me. It helped me break this mental barrier that I've had for a long time, that I would never be the person that I was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to verbalize it is that I just ended up looking forward a little bit more. I think that's the best way to put it into words. I just ended up looking forward a bit more. Instead of dwelling on the past, on the person that I used to be, I decided to just focus forward, and put more effort into what I'm doing in the moment, rather than seeing what I was before. And I think that was really eye-opening for me. And obviously my situation will be different from everyone's situation will be different, whether or not it was like issues with their tapping or issues with their tablet. We all have this collective issue of placebo, and I think that's the general idea that we should talk about.
Interesting that he used the word placebo like that. So, like, you kind of placebo yourself into thinking this is how things should always be, when in fact, that's not the case. I might be misunderstanding something here, but I feel like the way placebo is being used here is a bit different from the placebo that I learned in psychology.
Or that should be voiced anyway, I should say. But for the most part,
it's like self-imposed placebo, I guess. I guess that's what it is. Self-imposed placebo.
I think that's really it, I can't really think of much else to say other than I'm doing better now.
Hell yeah.
I hopped on the game. Even though the thing is I didn't set any personal bests or anything. I didn't do anything like super crazy. I didn't set anything super special, but for me, this session just felt eye-opening, Instead of feeling so frustrated all the time with myself, I felt at ease, Whenever I missed, it was more of an idea of, oh yeah, like I missed. It's okay. That can always be fixed. The next play after, the play after that, or even the play after that. And I've built this like positive reinforcement now, where it's more about looking towards the future of what I'm capable of, rather than looking in the past of, oh yeah, wait, I've already gotten this score before. How do I reach that again? Instead of thinking about it like you have to reach this barrier, I mainly just thought about it as in an ever increasing elevator almost, like I'll just keep going up and up and up and up. And I think that's the best way to explain the sort of the mental shift that I've had. And because of that mental shift, I also just ended up focusing more on playing the game in general than I did before. Because I think the way I played today, I had this thought of I'm just playing to the best of my ability, and whatever happens. Then before, where I was like, in my head, I was always so anxious of missing all the time. I was more focused on missing than actually playing the game. In a sense, yes, that's basically how I thought.
You can tell. Yeah, no, 100%. His mentality, so much better. Dude, I heavily relate to this so much. Even now, I still relate to this because, like, I kind of went through these motions in the past. And then I'm kind of going through the motions again, even though I've experienced them in the past. Essentially, I spent all this time playing Osu for 10 years. And, like, I used to play like a T-Rex, and that really sucked because I started getting carpal tunnel in my left hand. But then I took a break and it got better, and then I fixed my posture and I was able to play a little bit better. And then I made a change, an adjustment to my setup where my tapping hand and keyboard or keypad excuse me, and my keypad were like slightly different, and all of a sudden I just like unlocked like seemingly unlimited raw stamina like from nowhere. Like, what the fuck, hello. For like tapping streams and stuff, and that's where you see like some of my like live stream highlights coming from, like with the Wheel of Llama God mode and stuff. And I just realized, oh wait, okay, so I gotta stick with this exact posture, this exact setup, this exact thing, and I kept that. But then I had to take a step away from the game for, well, I couldn't play Osu very often for 2 or 3 years. Just life came into life, and life happened, and life did things, and life was life. And so when when I finally came back to the game, like my setup was completely different. Essentially, completely different table, completely different chair, completely different tablet, completely different keyboard, keypad, everything. Like, all my peripherals were different, dude, except for my headphones. And so it's just like, oh my god, I don't think I'll be able to get exactly what I had before, because like that's literally impossible. Like, everything's different. So I can try and get closer. I can try and mimic like what I remember my setup being like before, but I can only get so close, and the rest is up to me to focus on adjusting to it and adapting to it, and then finally just getting back to playing the game. And the whole thing of kind of looking at things as the glory days, like look at how I played back then, like I was so good back then, and it's not the same anymore. And the whole thing with like missing notes and like being like having this I think he mentioned something like anytime he aims vertical jumps, like he gets a jump scare. Like, having such a an intense response to that, yeah, like how you perceive things, your mentality, your mind space when interacting with this game matters so much. And I'm actually gonna have to pause recording, and I will continue right. Okay, I had to go pick up my sister from school, but we're continuing. So even now, with me having to implement a new tapping technique after playing the Big Black for 10 hours and injuring myself, me needing to adapt to have a better tapping technique, healthier, what? Like a better tapping technique that doesn't aggravate or doesn't strain my middle finger's extensor tendon too much, essentially. It, like, things like this, these are all just like new normals that can be adapted to. It's part of like what makes us human. We're able to adapt to our situations. We're able to like take on new things and learn from it and be like, yeah, we did that. So yeah, like him shifting his mindset to being able to look forward to what's coming next is such a big W. Honestly, it's really heartwarming to see. Like, I feel like a lot of players, a lot of top players, or well, any players, I guess, they don't really like open up about like these deeper, intricate like feelings. And like, I mean, at least not in like such a raw video like this, where it's literally just like all out on the plate, no cuts, nothing, just like all the like the pauses and everything, and like, yeah, like it's just raw in the brain of Decaten when he's not being freaky, but we don't talk about, well, I mean, that's not what we're talking about here. When he's actually talking about something he deeply loves, and, you know, yeah. Let's keep watching.
And you know, that kind of thinking is so toxic because you're not focused on what you're doing in the moment, but you're just focused on making a mistake more than being right on everything. Kind of, it's like you're focused on the fact that you have a chance of failing rather than focused that you gotta lock in to succeed, kind of deal. I'm sure there's a better way to say it, but
I think the better way he's trying to say it is, like, instead of focusing on being afraid of failing, or like, yeah, failing to like surpass like something you did before, or like just the fear, instead of focusing on fear, focus on the present moment instead. Focus on what's right in front of you instead. And like, it's like these kind of things where it's like one of the things I love about Osu is how, like, it's not like a typical like story driven RPG, or like, it doesn't have a story. There's no story. There's no plot to the game. You're playing a rhythm game, but you're building up skill. You're building your own story. And your own story, like you being in your own story, means that you're facing your own challenges, your own conflicts, your own obstacles. You're learning legit life lessons. Sometimes even. Like, shit, man. Legitimately. Like, my Osu Advantage videos kind of touch into it a bit here and there, like, since most of them are like challenging mindsets even. So yeah, like building your own story from 0 to hero, or 0 to Emmerich, or 0 to Decaten, going on all these side quests, drawing girls that he saw in the subway and stuff, you know. It's not about the destination. It's about all the girls we drew on the way. Anyways,
you get the point, I think. But yeah, I just wanted to document this. I just wanted to document kind of this mental shift that I've had, and how I kind of want the video to be. I want these next few videos coming up to be this sort of thing that people can watch and be like, oh yeah, Decaten, like he was struggling with this issue for a long time, and he had this shift in mentality, you know. He figured out his own problems, and he eventually, you know, rose back up again. And so I want people to take away from this that it never matters how far you fall down, you know. I've fallen down quite far. Yeah, I mean, you see those Devoken elo gains, bro? Shit. I've fallen down from like 1400 to like 1100 at some point.
Ain't no way.
And that's a fuck ton, no lie. But you know, now like I'm back at like 1350 or something. So
let's go.
It's never too late to change, basically. You know, you're never gonna be stuck in this rut forever.
Nope.
As long as you make an effort to, I feel like the first thing that you have to do is you gotta speak about your problems first. You know,
it helps a lot, actually.
I've dwelled on this problem for.
Let me just say, talking about like your internal conflicts, your inner turmoils, so to speak, really helps. Like, because when you hear yourself speak it out loud, even if you're just talking to yourself like a psychopath in your room, like I do, because I do that. When you do even just that, like, it's like a verbal form of journaling. Like, why does journaling help? Because you see your thoughts in front of you, and all of a sudden you're going from being stuck inside your head to reading your own thoughts, hearing your own thoughts, and then kind of listening to yourself. And when you listen to yourself, you realize, oh, okay, I can make sense of these thoughts a bit better. I can put these together, and like this is actually completely irrelevant. Like, it felt so, you know what I'm trying to say, so yeah, he's completely right about that.
For way too long than I should have, and that's because it's always scary, when you have internal problems like these, you don't want to say it, because either you feel weak, or not feel weak, but you don't want to be perceived as weak, you want to be perceived as like someone who's very resilient, and
there's nothing stronger than someone who is willing to admit that they are struggling. It is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. The true sign of weakness is when someone chooses to live in denial and not acknowledge that they are struggling, because then they will keep struggling and not grow out of it.
And for me, I was that kind of person back in 22, that I was, the very happy, the very mental guy, I was always super happy, and people, there's a comment saying that I'm like a teddy bear or something, or like a golden retriever. And so it's hard to speak up about that stuff, because you have this image that you don't want to break, but but for me it got too much, and so that's why I ended up making this video. But yeah, speak up on your problems, whether it's to friends or whether it's like me and just straightforward to the public for the entirety of YouTube to see. But yeah, like this really opened my eyes, just this lump had been growing on me for years now, ever since I got my new PC, and it just I felt such a relief after I spoke about it. I was still sad. I was still sad when I woke up, I mean, as anyone would after a pretty bad crash out. I'm so serious. When I recorded this video, literally, like, maybe not even 30 minutes before, I deadass, like, I hopped off the game, bro. I got so fucking mad,
man,
so angry, just so frustrated, so frustrated with myself, because I didn't want to be this person that would just be so focused on settings all the time. I wanted to be a person that played the game, that actively strove to improve. But yeah, instead I was just so focused on optimizing the game, that I was so focused on optimizing the game, I forgot about actually improving myself. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah. And so I think all in all, this is only day one, so I can't say for sure how my mental will shift as we go along. But right now, so I asked a few friends around, see what they like. So I'm never touching this anymore. Whoa. Fuck this, just
okay.
Just get that shit out. Obviously.
Okay, by the way, full screen optimizations does.
There's some games where like those property settings are good for, like CS:GO, but there's like specific cases where like stretched resolution, which I don't. But yeah, I don't even play Osu on stretch though, so it shouldn't.
Who plays Osu on a stretched resolution? What are you talking about, man? What kind of benefit do you get on playing on a stretched resolution? What? Is it like the whole thing on like playing on stretched resolution to like boost your FPS, because like you're playing on a lower resolution but you're still using your full screen? Isn't that what it is? Or like I feel like that's like one reason to do that on CS:GO, and then like another reason people do that on CS:GO is to like they force a square type resolution, 4:3 resolution, and then they stretch that to 16:9, so everyone is super wide and like walking Putin style or whatever. But then that makes it easier to aim, like to hit shots or something. I don't know what I'm saying, but I who does that on Osu? Why would you do that on Osu?
It shouldn't matter at all, honestly. And then also I stuck with this. I just asked one of my friends, you know, hey, do you use raw input, right? And then just keeping this off for now, since it's like it talks about tablets in the description, so it's like you might as well just keep it off.
Yeah. That setting shouldn't really affect how a mouse cursor behaves. So
you know, that's like a tablet setting.
Yep.
So yeah, I hope to stick with that for as long as I can. I want this. Ever since I posted this video, it's been like a turning point for me. You know, I always thought that it was impossible to break out of this mindset, but clearly it's been much more of a positive effect on me than I thought it'd be. And so I'm so forever thankful for everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's all I had to talk about. Thanks. Bye.
God damn. God freaking damn. God freaking damn. Big W Decaten. Sharing your weaknesses. Being straight up. Being like, hey, I'm struggling. Fuck. Okay. And then being like, wait a second. Just change perspective. All in all, positive turn of events for Decaten. When I recorded the other session of me watching his other video yesterday, it was a much more like somber tone. Much more like, damn, I hope he feels better soon. But look at him now. He's feeling better. And dropping life lesson type shit. So, yeah. Damn. It's a tricky thing. Especially when you feel like you're all by yourself and you're struggling. You're struggling to figure things out and you're struggling to just enjoy a game. Like you kind of have to go back to your roots sometimes to realize, oh, okay. Yeah, there are these things that can help me get better at the game. But, like, in order for these things to actually help me get better at the game, I actually have to play the game and, like, do the thing and play the game and get better at the game by playing the game, you know? Like, perceiving things as, like, you failed, like, you're failing to meet your potential, you're failing to even meet, like, the level of performance that you were playing at in the past and stuff. If you focus too much on the failure, you're not going to see what you're learning from it. Like, failures are an opportunity to learn. As someone who's failed a lot in my life, it's an opportunity to learn what doesn't work. I spent 10 years of playing OSU learning what doesn't work. Me personally, like, I'm still battling this battle of, man, I don't FC maps that often. I want to FC maps more often. I realized, like, the way I approach OSU is like, man, I skill push way too much, and because of that, like, sure, I can like do stuff that 4 digits would do. Someone would think I would be a 4 digit or whatever, but then, like, I'm not a 4 digit because I don't FC jack shit. So it's like, well, I gotta work on consistency. How do I do that? Oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and then you rule out what doesn't work, and that helps you zone in to what can work for you. It's a case-by-case basis, person to person. Different things work for different people. What helps one person might hurt another. It's not universal. It's not straightforward, but I think that's what makes it beautiful. And being able to have Decaten share what he is struggling with, I think it's a great way to help other people as well. I know it wasn't his intention to help people, but I don't know. W content. Decaten will save Osu content. And yeah. Also, shout out to Collector for linking me this video in our Discord server, which you can join down below in the pinned comment in the comment section and the description. So, if you found any value in this video, please let me know by liking the video and subscribing, and feel free to leave a comment down below for your comments and thoughts and comments. And I hope to see you next time. Check out this video, that video over here, the video right here. It's over here. Yeah, watch this video. Watch that video. This video. That one right there. Yes. Okay. Bye.